Work session to order. I didn't have this done. Yeah, here we go. I changed my time. So, welcome everyone to the Borough Council work session. No council action is taken during the work session. And we usually start off a trivia question with Mr. Demir. He has something for us tonight, so.
I do. Which U.S. president won the re-election with the widest popular vote margin in history?
Nixon?
Boy, that's an excellent guess. You're thinking the right, not bad.
Re-election or election?
Widest popular vote margin, re-election.
Re-election.
That's the hint in the question.
Because they had to get it close.
Was it in this century?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Eisenhower.
Lyndon B.
John.
Johnson, re-election after he served out.
Uncle Lyndon.
Who was his vice president?
Rumford.
Seen that, guys? What are you studying?
They know the answers. They're wearing these headsets.
I thought that was interesting. Lyndon B. Johnson.
That does
That
surprise
was
me.
That was just a popular vote. That one.
Yeah, he was super popular at the time, if you remember. Yeah, obviously, maybe didn't turn out that way. Anyway.
Did you ever read the book? There's a book out.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Guy who
Very
was
nice.
in the FBI.
So we originally had the stage of Talleyrand scheduled, but they chose to go with an alternate date. So we're going to go to Plan B, 2024 budget, review bulk water fund, and special projects fund. So I'm gonna ask Lori to step up and give us some advice.
Okay, so tonight I have special projects and bulk water, and I'll start with the special projects fund. This fund is mainly for grants that don't need a match. This is where the police department grant is, the band shell grant, the baseball field grant, the American Rescue Funds. All the revenue and expenses run through here. So what this is just what we think is going to happen next year with expenses for the grant. Next year, the police department grant and the baseball field grant should be done. The band shell grant is slated to start next October. And the American Rescue Funds, council decided to use toward the Parkview Heights stormwater project. So all of those are reflected in here. The other grant that we have is the Keystone Grant, and we got that as a grant to help local businesses. The first grant went out to the guys that bought the Gamble Mill, and they are now repaying it. The interest rate is less than 1%, so eventually we will reloan that money. We don't have enough yet to do that, but we will in the future. We're hoping maybe in 2026. So that revenue is coming in, but it's not going out anywhere just yet. So that's what this fund is. It's the revenue that comes in and then the related grant expenses.
It's pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward.
Any questions?
So just to be clear, it says for 2024, the American Rescue Grant Funds are zero, which I understand because it was only for last year and this year. And then down under the expenses, what we're using is previous year's funds to pay for this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those funds came in after COVID, and we've used some of them, but we haven't used all of them.
And so that's where the 261,000 comes from?
Yes.
Okay.
It's money in and money out.
Money in and money out.
But it doesn't show up as part of the revenue for 2024?
No, it won't, because it was received years ago.
Okay. And so that's where so I'm trying, because I see it balances out to net zero. So where does the previous year's numbers show up in this budget to make it zero? Or do they?
So we are assuming, like with the band shell grant, we're just assuming that that is previous year's revenues we're gonna expend this year. So yes, it does show up. There's a use of reserves there at 399,001.
Oh, is that the 1.108 use of reserves?
Mhm.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions for Lori for this one? Okay. We'll move on now to the bulk water.
Where half of the sale of the bulk water is in this fund. This fund is used to match the grants that that have a match to them. Or some grants are we have to lay the money out first and then we get reimbursed. So this fund we will use for that. We lay the money out, it will come back. But it has enough revenue in it that we can do that. It's kind of a wash. You just have to have the money there at first. The waterfront expenses are here. The residents were told that no tax funds would be used, so we use this fund for the waterfront. There's still a loan on the waterfront. The Water Street property, which is the old subway building where Pelican is, that's run through here. The rent and then the loan payment. And this year we budgeted for a new building at the landfill. They are working on that. Darn governments have a lot of paperwork that you have to go through. So Matt said it might get the foundation in this year. It will depend on the weather. The remainder will be completed next year.
What line is that
For what?
for the building?
Oh, it's at the bottom, Musser Lane. The 43700. So the revenue in here is mainly from the
Okay.
bulk water sales. If there is an expense, the grant expense and the revenue come in. The rental income from the rental of the building. And then most of this is, like I said, there's principal and interest payments. The payment that we make to the CBICC, the payment for the conservation of natural resources, which the fellow is in here from the water, I can't remember the name of it, the water place.
Yes,
He was in here and talked about wanting to raise it to 15 cents.
Spring Creek Watershed.
Thank you. That's in here. So that's pretty much what this one is.
I just add, up until a couple of years ago, the borough pretty much oversaw all of these funds. But as you recall, we made an agreement with the borough authority to split these funds. So what you're seeing is our share
Right.
of the funds, and the authority sees their share.
Mhm.
So just to be clear, you're saying that line 481.500, the conservation of natural resources expenses is Spring Creek Watershed?
There's another one that's in there too, yes, but that's part of it, and then we
Okay.
pay another one.
Okay.
Where's that? What's the other number for? Because I don't see it either.
I don't see it either.
One was about, I think it's probably gonna be about $900.
Yeah, So that is the conservation of natural resources. We pay two entities out of that.
There's a spring water, or water testing, I think, comes out
Yes.
of there too.
I don't remember the name of
I think
it.
Clearwater does that.
That's it, Clearwater, yes. So
way
it's
back-
those two.
Oh, so it's Clearwater and Spring Creek
I
Watershed?
believe so, way back when
Okay.
those projects were accepted, we
Okay.
were asked to take it out of this
Mhm.
fund.
Yep.
Has the volume of water sold stayed pretty consistent? Or does it vary seasonally?
It's pretty consistent. They're permitted, not under our permit, but under a permit they have. So they have a maximum amount of withdrawal per day, and they're usually pretty close to that, and it is pretty consistent in more recent years. You know, early on it was pretty low, but more consistent now.
Other questions? Well, hearing none, I guess that completes those two budget reviews.
So just one thing, you said this does not include any tax dollars, is that correct?
No, there's no tax revenue in the bulk water sales. It's mainly from we sell to Milesburg and we sell to Niagara now is what it's called. A little bit of rental income, interest income.
And this water does not go through the water system per se, a separate pipeline. So, right, again, early on, council wanted it kept separate outside the water system, so we've done that from day one.
And what about the bulk water pipe that you have trucks come in?
Well,
Is that in this one, or is that in
no.
ours?
Good, I mean, that's a good question for clarification. We use, if you see a water report, we have a bulk water loading station at the treatment plant. Like, the trucks come in for filling swimming pools in the area. We call that bulk water just because out of habit, that's what it was called. But there's a loading station there at the treatment plant. So you'll see in the water reports, so many gallons per month sold. That does go through the water system because there's a hydrant and a connection to the water system there. But it's separate. It's in that stays in the water system because all the water goes through. It's treated, finished water available for anybody, but we sell through this bulk water system.
And is there, I know with the other bulk water, it's so many cents per gallon, which is less than what our residents pay.
No,
No?
no.
So that's what I'm
Well-
asking. What is how does that bulk sales compare to what the residents pay?
The bulk sales at the loading station is actually higher than what residents pay.
Okay.
We see it as a premium, you know, if they want it. We have agreements with a couple of companies, but it's actually higher than what residents pay. The water going through this pipeline outside the system is lower.
I think that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
say. What
It's
Because
low.
it
locals
isn't
have.
treated.
It's not treated, there's no electricity, there's no chemicals. We never really touched the water. The pipeline was built by a private company,
Okay.
all at somebody else's expense. Again, the council at the time decided, because there was a going rate of water sales outside the borough at the time, so they went with a comparable rate at that time. So then they felt it was reasonable because otherwise this water would just go down the stream. It's all within our withdrawal permit. You know, we have a maximum amount we can take out of the big spring each day, and we're well within that amount. So because there's no costs and all that, no electricity, no work that we did, it is a lower rate than what residents pay.
But the truck ones are higher than what we
Truck
pay.
one's higher, yes, yes.
Lori, are you seeing anything dramatically different in the bulk water fund as opposed to the last 5, 6, 7 years?
The biggest thing is that council decided to give half of the revenue to the water fund, so your revenues are down, only because half of it is only coming into this fund, but otherwise, no. I mean, the amount of the grants that run through it might change, but for the most part, it's pretty steady.
And that bulk water fund's always negotiable, the 50/50. Right?
Yes, we said earlier in the agreement that if the borough had a bigger project, we could go and at least request additional funds, and likewise, if
Yep.
the authority had a larger project, they could do the same. Yes.
Any other questions? Well, I guess we can close the meeting unless there's something else that you want.
I just mentioned Lori will be attending the Borough Authority meeting tomorrow night to review the water and the sewer budget
Good.
for the two funds. That works its way back into our budget, but the authority actually sets any rate changes or whatever they do. They have that ability to set the rates.
So you'll get those to look at the next meeting, the next council meeting. We'll have general fund the next meeting. And capital projects and the new armory building budget will be in there, so.
We'll get to look at what you're bringing back to bulk water next meeting after it goes and is
What-
approved by our Bellefonte Borough Water Authority.
Right.
Is that right?
It won't be bulk water, it's just straight water. It's
Water.
water, the water fund and the sewer fund, yes.
And they won't actually approve it
Mhm.
in here the next meeting or two, it'll probably be in December if there's
Mhm.
any changes. You know, but we can tell you what they're looking
Right.
at or what they're talking about.
You can
Yes.
look at what they're looking at, unless, that way if they have any major
A lot of people
changes.
looking at this. You got the authority looking at it, and it's coming to us to look at.
If they have any changes, I'll make those changes before they come to you.
Sounds good.
So,
I'm sure it won't be too drastic.
I don't think, but you never know.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's all the next meeting. There's 3 weeks till the next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Weeks.
3 weeks.
Two
This
weeks
is an
off.
early second meeting. It's only the 16th.
Okay. Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The meeting's adjourned. So we have about The Bellefonte Borough Council business meeting to order, 7:30 PM on Monday, October 16th. First of all, I'd like to do a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Stewart, could I have the roll call vote, or roll call, please?
Certainly. Mr. Bernier?
Here.
Mr. Brackbill?
Here.
Ms. Cleaton?
Here.
Ms. Stan?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Present?
Ms. McKean?
Here.
Ms. Purnell?
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Here.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
I'm here.
Mayor Johnson is excused.
Thank you, Ralph.
Sure.
In accordance with Act 65 of 2021, if a matter is not on the agenda, council may not take official action on it. With the following exceptions, council can act on matters relating to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through a majority vote. The council must state why the action item is being added to the agenda. Council may vote to add an action item to the agenda. Is there any action item that you would wish to add? Yes, ma'am.
Just one real quick one, and it's more for information for the public, and it's to add the courthouse detour on East High Street, and doing it this evening because the construction starts before our next meeting.
Yep, we'll put that to communications written.
Yep,
So that's a motion.
yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Barbara. Any discussion? Roll call, please. Mr. Holman.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Cleaton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
Yes.
Thank you, Dawn. The next item
Oh,
is...
I got one question.
Okay.
I see that the EV chargers are back on the old business for tonight. So I wanted to ask if it's appropriate to remove what we tabled at the last meeting, so that you, when you're making the next agenda or coming up, and we have another 3 weeks before we meet again, but when you have that agenda meeting, then you'll be able to discuss this as far as when you wanted to either put it back on a work session or put it back into the agenda.
You lost me completely on that. It's not on the old business.
It is under old business.
It's just an FYI.
Yeah, it's an
We just put
FYI.
on the FYI.
So my question is, though, with 3 weeks waiting to,
Where is it on?
The idea that we took care of the alternate fuel tax permit, that's the only reference.
Oh, it's a new business.
No, right,
That's under old
last one
business.
under old business. Turn- Next
Guest
page.
speaker,
Next page.
So
right there?
No, that's.
I,
Oh, there, I'm missing. No. Okay, let me see that.
all I want to know, would it be appropriate to bring it off a table so your group could then look at it when you're looking at agendas or work sessions at your next agenda meeting?
I'd like to weigh in there.
Yeah, sure.
The motion that Randy made the last time was to table. He did not say to a certain time or until something else happened.
Right.
And according to Robert's rules, that means that we can't bring it back up until a new council comes in. So it couldn't come back up until January.
Okay. So that sounds like it's not going anywhere because it's on the table now
Right.
and it can't be
But I
taken
made
off
the
the
motion, I
table.
thought I had the right to pull it off.
You have, when a motion is made, unless you give, until something happens, it's permanently tabled
Yeah.
until a new council comes in, which would be January. And you can do it then.
My question to you is, Joanne, if it's tabled and somebody who voted in favor of the tabling, wouldn't they be the one to
They would-
ask to remove it from the table? Nobody who voted nay could do that, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so,
But because the way that motion was made, the timing has to wait until the next council comes into
Okay.
effect. If
But the
Randy-
motion was made to be brought up at the next work session, which was tonight. It's not on that work session. It wasn't in the work session, but that's
Okay.
what I had. I can't help it if it didn't make it on the minutes, but that's what I had.
Well, why don't we check the tape, and if that's true, then he's correct. But I don't recall him making that. All I heard was table.
Just because everybody, la, 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 and nobody's
So-
paying attention, and it just, that's when it kind of blows up when everybody starts talking at the same time. So, but I did make that, and I had it written down on my sheet, and it's there. So, I just wanted to check, because I didn't want to let this linger too long, and
Well, if it stays on the table, it doesn't linger anywhere. We just
I
go with-
understand that, but it doesn't
We
get-
just go with the $3 charge and the total $3 charge and the $2, $1 for parking, $1 for administrative fee, $1 for...
I understand, I just
the
don't like
tax.
things hanging.
So if it stays on the table, we just continue the way it is, without
Well, Randy,
it.
how come you had made a motion to have a table then if you don't like things hanging? I'm confused. I mean, it was only 2 weeks ago. What's different in your mind that you don't like things
Well,
hanging?
that's what my motion was, though, was to bring it to this work session for tonight.
But it was in front of us at the last meeting.
Right, but there was different
You
conversations.
made a motion
being
to
had.
have it moved away.
I made a motion because it wasn't discussed at this table prior to it coming into the agenda. You guys knew about it, but nobody else at the table knew. So it wasn't fair to the council not to know what was going on. That's the purpose of a work session, and that's the purpose of this meeting. So that's so that everybody kind of understood what was happening. And that's why I tabled it.
Well, that may have taken place during the discussion if the motion was approved, but we never got to approving the motion because you tabled it.
Right.
Okay. So, but during the discussion of that motion, that may have come out as to why it was on the agenda, but because it was tabled, it didn't
But
happen.
my motion had it in there. We'll look at it.
Okay, so we'll move on from there. We took a vote, Joanne, on your motion, and it was added to the agenda.
Thank you.
And I'll have Mr. Stewart read that during the communications written. Okay? So now, this is the good part of the council meeting, and I don't know that Mr. Baldwin or Mr. Badger are in the audience, but Bellefonte Resolution Number 101-62023-01. This is a resolution of the Borough of Bellefonte, Center County, Pennsylvania, recognizing James Baldwin and Paul Badger for their years of volunteer service to the Union Cemetery Association. Whereas the council, mayor, and staff wish to commend and thank Jim and Paul for their years of volunteer service, assistance to the Union Cemetery and its governing association, and where Jim and Paul put in countless hours cutting grass, fixing mowers, repairing headstones. Whereas Jim and Paul regularly took the lead in resolving numerous issues related to being caretakers of one of the most significant cemeteries in the county. And whereas Jim and Paul always displayed a superior level of volunteerism and cooperation throughout their years of dedicated service. Now therefore be it resolved that the council, mayor, and staff of Bellefonte Borough, Center County, Pennsylvania, do hereby honor Jim Baldwin and Paul Badger for their years of volunteer service at the Union Cemetery Association and wish them the best in retirement. So.
You need a motion?
We need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
To approve
Randy.
the resolution of 101-62023-01.
Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Deborah. Any discussion on this with Mr. Badger and Mr. Baldwin doing? I'll
Just
tell you,
know they've
this
done a
this
good
is
job.
just, I mean, these guys went through a lot of headaches, many, many years, and they deserve a lot of credit for what they've done. And we're sorry to see them go, but we understand why they're going. but we hope we can rely on them for information that may be needed in the future by the new administration. So with that said, is there any other comments?
Kudos and good retirement.
Thank you, Joanne. So we need a roll call vote, please, Mr. Haldeman.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yep.
Thank you. Moving on to public comment. The officers of council have decided to try combining the agenda and non-agenda public comment. This public comment period is for oral comments regarding any action items listed on the meeting agenda or any comments in general. No deliberation will be entered into by council at this time. Please sign in, come to the podium at your appropriate time, state your name and address, and which item you are speaking about. We do limit your comments to 3 minutes. So if there is somebody from the public in the audience that would like to come to the podium, please do it now. Good evening.
Evening. My name is Peter Serafine. My address is 212 East High Street. I'm here to present a petition for the establishment of an off-leash dog park in Bellefonte. The petition boasts over 500 signatures, and the case for the facility is compelling, supported by proven benefits that underscore its importance. First, let's consider the numbers. Bellefonte Borough is home to 462 licensed dogs. Expand your view a little bit and include Spring Township, which envelops Bellefonte, and you're adding 689 more dogs. So there's a substantial population that would benefit from an off-leash dog park. And considering the municipalities that border Spring Township, and now you're at 3,000 licensed dogs. Now, the closest existing dog park, off-leash dog park, is Two Deck Park, a 20-minute drive. And every time I make that drive and I take my dog there, I meet people from Bellefonte. So that proves the need or the desire for such a facility more local. The advantages of an off-leash park are not merely anecdotal, but supported by a body of evidence. Numerous studies, as well as the experiences of other communities, have shown that off-leash dog parks yield significant benefits. Benefits to the dog, like enhanced canine well-being. Off-leash parks provide a secure and controlled environment for dogs to exercise and socialize, promoting their physical health and mental stimulation. Community building. Parks foster a sense of community amongst the dog owners, leading to stronger neighborhood bonds and social connections. Improved behaviors. Dogs that frequent off-leash parks are better behaved. They become well socialized and accustomed to the various stimuli and situations. A cleaner borough with a designated off-leash park will reduce the amount of waste throughout the town. And an economic boost. If I'm willing to drive 20 minutes to Two Deck Park, who's willing to drive to Bellefonte? An off-leash park will attract visitors from neighboring areas, potentially benefiting local businesses and boosting our economy. And as mentioned earlier, there's over 1,000 of them in Bellefonte, Spring Township alone. And in conclusion, the establishment of an off-leash park in Bellefonte is not just a matter of convenience, it's a response to a genuine need of our community. With hundreds of licensed dogs in the borough and thousands nearby, the proven advantages of this facility and the creation of a dedicated space for our furry friends is a step in fostering a healthier, more connected, and vibrant Bellefonte community. And if I may,
Yes, thank you very
the
much.
petition and the over 500 signatures.
Thank you. Others for public comment?
Yeah, my name's Christian Bechtel.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Christian Bechtel,
Hi, good evening.
hello. I just have a short message. I live at 302, or 320, West 320 Pine Street, apartment 4 in Bellefonte. And I've noticed coming into Bellefonte, the yellow railroad crossing sign entering Bellefonte, right before that crossing, has graffiti on it. So it should be replaced because the reflectability has been degraded, and it's been like that for a while. I've noticed it. I just think they should replace that to, as far as safety for the railroad crossing, and it should be, you can't get it off there, you just have to replace the sign. So I just wanted to bring that up. And on the highway or the road, there's that white R and the X. It's kind of worn off, asphalt entering that crossing right across from the match factory. And the other one's worn off by on the opposite side. So I don't know who's responsible to repaint those, if it's the borough or the railroad or what.
Suspect the railroad, probably.
We're guessing the railroad, but we'll find out for you.
Okay. Well, both of those need repainted. They're pretty much gone at this point. And that sign entering that crossing just before it, that needs replaced. So somebody graffitied it, and I don't know why or what, but they ruined the visibility of it. And that's basically all I have, is just,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Others? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Stacia Hancock. I live at 212 East High Street. I'm here about the dog park petition. I'm a proud homeowner in Bellefonte, and I'm fortunate to have a fenced-in yard which provides my dog with some room to roam. However, having a fenced-in yard doesn't help him learn how to interact with other dogs or people. Additionally, like many properties in Bellefonte, my yard is situated on a steep hill. As you may have noticed as I approached, I have mobility issues. I am permanently disabled, and navigating hills can be quite challenging for me. Even a simple walk around town can be difficult. The reality is that very few residents of Bellefonte Borough are as lucky as I am to have a fenced-in yard, whether it's on hilly terrain or not. Dogs require the freedom to run and play to maintain their happiness and overall health. Dog owners, too, need a dedicated space to bond with their pets and enjoy outdoor activities together. As members of the council, you possess the ability to create a designated area that can make our dogs and their owners happy and healthier. A leash-free dog park is not just a luxury, it's a community asset that promotes well-being, fosters stronger neighborly ties, and enhances the quality of life for both two-legged friends and four-legged residents. I urge you to seriously consider the establishment of such a space, which would undoubtedly be a valuable addition to our beloved Bellefonte Borough. I love my dog, and odds are at least one of you have a dog that you love as well. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Are there others for public comment? I don't see any more. Is there any comments from council at this time? Hearing none, I think we'll move on to written communications.
Thank you. First one is from Bellefonte Waterfront Associates. They're asking the borough to consider allowing additional third-party commercial building code inspector services. We did not list that as an action item, and possibly something to schedule in a future work session.
Should I comment on that now?
You're welcome to, or this is
I think
how we
what
list
I'd
it.
like to do is appoint a few, our borough staff, Dawn, Julie, Ralph, and I think Barbara would be willing to participate, that we could sit down and meet with Mr. Songer with this letter that he wrote today that's in the packet, and meet with him and bring some information back to council to see where we could go with that. If there's another council member that would like to participate in that meeting, I'm open to that.
If you need somebody, you can check, I'll do it.
Would you like to do that?
Sure.
Okay. We have no date or time at this time. I'm going to ask Mr. Stewart to arrange that sometime in the next, week or two?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll meet and bring back some sort of information to council.
Yes, sure.
Or opinion, I guess.
Yeah, just, yeah, see what it is.
Yeah, okay? Thank you.
Sure. Next item, as you heard from some of our guests, there's a petition, information about establishing an off-leash dog park. It's mentioned here, the Joseph Missoula Memorial Park as a possibility. Again, we did not list that as action, any kind of action this evening. We do plan to schedule something in an upcoming work session, and when that time comes, we'll get the word out to everybody.
Okay.
There is the one item that was added tonight to the agenda. Really, it's not an action item, but the courthouse, the county government is planning to start their wall construction project on each side of the courthouse. They're starting on the north side of the courthouse, which is the downhill side of High Street if you're driving down beside the courthouse. So they said in their letter, basically 3 to 4 weeks, they expect the contractor to be on site. There will be a detour in that area. We will post the map that we received today through an email, and I know for sure the county will do the same. The county's sending letters and the map to each home and property that is affected by this temporary detour. So as we get information, we'll get it out on our website. Again, the homeowners and businesses affected will get a direct letter from the county, and we'll try to work with the county as best we can while this wall construction work is taking place. We've been in good conversations with the county administrator. I know when they finish the north side of the project, sometime in 2024, they'll start the south side of the project. Again, we'll keep everybody attuned to what's happening with the project.
Okay. Does everybody understand that? You all had it in your packet just before or the email? Okay. Do you think we should put that on the website?
Yes,
here?
we will do that, yes.
All right, great. I think the county would probably do the same.
Yes.
I'm not sure of that, but
Yes.
it would make sense to me. Okay, we're down to the consent agenda. As you all know, items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of council request a specific item to be removed for a separate action. I think we got your corrections to the minutes, Joanne, and they were made. Would anybody like to make okay, no motion. So,
I'll make the motion to accept the consent agenda.
okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion? No discussion? Roll call vote. Please, Mr. Alderman.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Reports. The mayor is absent tonight. In your package, you have the police report. Does anybody have any specific questions for Chief Weaver at this time? If not, I'm going to ask Chief Weaver if he wants to come up and have any comments.
I just have a couple things.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I guess there's no questions, correct? About any of the information. I just want to bring a couple items up, a couple numbers that stand out. If you go to page 2, the cruiser, number 6, mileage, it's pretty high. It's 1,000 miles. That vehicle has the license plate reader. 1,000 miles.
1,000 or 100?
No, 1,000. 1,000. That vehicle is equipped with the LPR, the license plate reader. It's a pretty unique piece of equipment. Has a lot of technology behind it. If you ever have gone to Ocean City, Maryland, or New Jersey, there's usually one way in, one way out. If you ever see a police officer sitting there, or a police car sitting there, they have an LPR. They know that each car coming in, they don't have a warrant, that you have insurance on your car, your car is registered, and basically it can do a lot more than that. If there was a wanted person, interstate wanted, if that person was driving a gray Buick sedan 4-door, all they would have to, we share all the information with, a big data network. And if you put in a parameter for search for a gray 1988 Buick, we could put that in our computer to see if it came through Bellefonte. This technology actually helped the Idaho murders. So it basically helped solve that. That's why we usually put 2 people to a vehicle, but this vehicle has the LPR, and I want it out in the streets more and more so we can, make sure that everyone has insurance. So it's a very good tool. It's expensive. We only have one of them, and I don't foresee another one anytime soon. So if you go down page 2, total hours worked, far right column. Now that doesn't account all the overtime. Like some overtime, I don't count that as working. Okay, if you're at the Penn State game, that's not working. But if you're in Bellefonte or you're at court, you're working. So you can see, if you go back to the overtime hours, if you see the second to the far right column, there's a high number of Penn State, like 36 hours, 26 hours, 24 PSU. I do not count that in hours worked. So, and then if you see in the overtime, the second column, shift coverage, the H means holiday pay. That's a contractual. So if an officer's shift is 10 hours, the way the contract's worded, it's really confusing. So how we take care of that is the officer gets paid for 70 hours. If it's a 10-hour shift, he will get 70 hours of regular pay, 10 of overtime pay, which means he's basically getting 5 hours of overtime, not 10. Then page 3, far right, admin hours. Now so each call, I have a parameter on my RMS system. So each month I take how many calls, 500 and whatever it was. The computer, the RMS will average how many minutes each officer spent on calls, or they average it to 0.40. Last month it was 0.40 hours, so 40 minutes. One call averaged out to 40 minutes each call. So some calls are 2 minutes, and my detective was on a call 2 Fridays ago. It was a 6-hour call. He was stuck on it. It was a burglary that we had, multiple burglaries in town. We had the person in custody. Let me see. Hours available. So if you see that someone had 94 hours, okay, that I had 50 of my vacation time, paid time off, I take that off. And I also take, if I'm out at training or if I'm in meetings, I will take that off my availability to patrol or do officer sort of things. So I just wanted to let you know that. And also on the second page, the traffic stops, we had 94 vehicle stops. Considering how, we don't have a lot of big highway, and a lot of places in town are very difficult to run smoothly. But we had 94 traffic stops, which I think is a fairly high number. And that's about it that I can come up with now. So,
Could you explain to us what warrants a warning and what warrants a ticket?
you smile or you don't smile? Officer discretion.
Okay.
We live amongst the community members here, so we don't persecute, we educate. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for the chief before he sits down? We're all good. Thank you, sir. Okay, the parking report is in your packets. I'm not going to go through every one, but we will stop at Office of Community Affairs. Gina, do you have something, or before I ask for the motions and seconds that you would like to say?
I do have a change to the certificates of appropriateness.
Okay, and that would be for 348?
Yeah, so at 348 East Curtin Street, the motion to approve the project as presented with modification that the siding be hardy plank or non-combustible equivalent, and that a survey be done to determine property lines. We're taking the survey piece to that out because Harb doesn't oversee surveys and requiring those. That would be zoning. Yeah, I mean, that would come up with, and I have already reviewed this for zoning, so. No, that's just the only change. Everything else you can just run through. So. Okay, thanks.
So, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the Landmarks SGA LLC as the firm for the CLG grant project to update the Bellefonte Borough Historic Design Guidelines.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Deb.
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. Discussion. I'm gonna say I did print out what this is. Does everybody know what the SGA LLC is? The firm, of course, but the CLG grant project update is. Everybody familiar with that here?
Go and give us an update on what that is, yeah.
I'll let Ralph do it. I printed it off.
Gina could do that.
Would you like to do that, Gina?
I
You 3 minutes or less.
Right. Are you saying I'm long-winded? No. So the CLG grant program, previously, you all had approved the matching 15, I believe it's $2,500
Yeah.
for the grant. This comes out of our CLG designation to apply for various grants. And this one is for $15,000 to update our historic design guidelines, which have not been updated since 2010. And they are not particularly user-friendly for residents. And so this would have us be able to update them, illustrate them, and distribute them, and then make them available on our website for residents that are in the historic district
Right.
to use when doing rehabilitation projects on their
Great.
homes.
So in a nutshell, we're hoping to make it more streamlined when people come before the HARB board, that they have this information beforehand, not surprised at a HARB meeting that, or talking with Gina, that they need to meet these qualifications before they can do this renovations to their homes in the historical area.
And just also in the updated design guidelines, they will include sort of an education
Sure.
component to it as well, which
Yeah.
is really exciting because I think that's maybe a missing element with
I
HARB.
agree.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Gina.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Gina?
I have one for, I guess, for Sarah. What are the red striped parking zones for? You can't, how do you get a permit to park at these parking spaces outlined in red? What are they and how do you get a permit for them?
Why don't you give us a call tomorrow and I'll walk you through it, or one of our staff members will walk you through the process.
Okay.
Or come down and see us.
Okay.
Thank you. Just stop in, we'll answer all your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ralph.
Sure.
Okay, so I think we do have a motion and a second for the SGA LLC. I did ask the question. They were the best bidder, that you guys reviewed it. Good. So roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yep.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the next item. Motion and a second to approve the issuance of a certificate of appropriate for the following HARB projects. And as you heard Gina say, we're crossing out the survey for the property lines for 348 East Curtin Street and along in the same motion, 123 South Spring Street. So I'm looking for a motion and a second for
So
these.
moved.
Thank you, Randy.
I'll second.
Barbara, thank you. Any questions? Roll call, please, Mr. Holderman.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes,
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yep.
thank you. Looking at the reports, I I hope you all noticed that our nuisance code person resigned October 10th. So I don't know the progress of that, but we are advertising it.
Yes,
So,
working on
yeah.
getting someone.
Yeah, shout out to the public. We're looking for a nuisance code officer. Go on the website and file the application and be considered for the job.
So Ralph or Don, for someone who might be interested, what type of part-time hours would that be? for
It's
them?
usually 10 hours a week.
And
Now,
they can pick their hours.
they can pick the hours. Now, like during the winter, it's usually a little bit less than that, just because of the nature of the time of the year. Summertime, it's busier, especially in the spring, when grass is growing like crazy. So it's usually a few more hours towards the spring, up to about July or thereabouts. But we're pretty flexible on the time of the day hours, but we usually average about 10 hours a week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Gina, I don't know, do you want to comment anything about the announcement, or is it 16th? For the zoning hearing board? I don't know if it's necessary or not. but-
For the public, I guess,
Yeah.
there will be a zoning hearing board on Wednesday, October 25th at 5 PM. That will be,
Right here.
that will be right here in council chambers, and if you would like more information on that, you can reach out to me to get
Great.
more specifics. So,
Great. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah. Oh, and there's going to be a planning commission on November 11th, whatever that Monday is, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
the
it's
second
Monday.
weekend,
I don't remember.
or the second Monday in November. There will be a planning commission meeting as well. So,
Thank you.
thanks. Same time, 5 PM in council chambers.
Thanks. Thanks, Gina. Any other questions for the the liaison reports that we're at for any of those? Okay, we'll move on to current and old business. First item is removal of 3 shade trees within the downtown. I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the request to remove and replace 3 trees in downtown as per recommended from the Shade Tree Commission.
I make that motion.
Thank you, Barbara.
Second.
Thank you, Johanna. Any discussion on this?
I just wanted to make council aware that vote from the Shade Tree Commission was 2-1.
Okay. 2 in favor of removal
Yes.
and 1 not to remove.
Well, the one tree in front of Temple Court was the one that, the one Shade Tree Commission member had an issue with.
Okay. Thanks, Dawn. Any other discussion?
Just out of curiosity, what was her concern, or his concern?
The concern was that the tree it's a large tree, but that shouldn't be the reason it detracts from the downtown.
Okay.
Okay. Other discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Halloran.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Cleaton. Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you. Governor's Park Baseball Field grant funds remaining to be used to upgrade restrooms and batting cage. The recommendation is council designate 1 or 2 council members to meet with the mayor to make some decisions and provide staff with direction on how to finish out the overall project and the grant funds. I think there's around $157,000 remaining in that, plus another $20,000.
There is about 157 in the grant. We may have 35 from the Rotary, haven't verified that.
Okay.
And then another 9,000 from maybe the Booster Club.
Okay. So this isn't an action item, but I'm looking for volunteers from council that may like to meet here in the Borough Building with Borough staff and the mayor to give council some direction or recommendations of how you would like to proceed with this. Either fund both or one or the other. So
May I ask a question?
yes, ma'am.
I was talking to one of the businesses downtown last week, and I'm not sure if it's this funds or another set of funds. Are these the funds that came through to do the Teener Field, or is this a separate set of funds?
This is
This
for
is
the
the Governor's
Governor's
Park
Park
field.
baseball field.
Yes.
Okay.
When
Okay.
Jake Corman gave us 100,000, a
So-
million.
Yeah.
So this is Jay Corman's funds, is that?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
But the 35,000 is from
Rotary.
the Rotary.
okay,
And the 9,000,
Okay.
these are not confirmed numbers.
Okay.
These are expected or have been mentioned. So we definitely have
okay.
157,000.
Because this person said that those funds were supposed to be used for two projects. This project and another project dealing somewhere else, and I can't remember what she said.
The Governor's Park baseball field?
The money that came from Jay Corman was for two different projects. The majority was for this, but
Okay.
there was a small portion that was for something else that she said she was concerned about because she said none of those funds had been thanked. So I would like to be on this committee so I can find out what this is about and,
Well, maybe staff can find that out for you.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily
Yeah.
mean you have to be on the committee, but we
Yeah.
can certainly get your question answered.
yeah.
So why don't you email me if you would like to participate in this committee within the next 2 or 3 days, and I'll make a decision and be back in touch with you. So I hope some folks are interested in taking part. Thanks, Joanne.
Yeah.
For that.
I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Sure,
that's all.
absolutely. No
I'm
problem.
not sure where that question's coming from. I think everything was appropriate up to this point. We talked about the baseball field
Yeah,
a number of times.
And-
I'm not sure of any kind of extra money, because it was a
We'll
one-check
find out.
deal.
Yeah,
We'll
and
get
I
an
agree
answer.
with it. I was surprised when I heard this too,
Yeah.
but that's why I asked the question.
No worries. We'll right? We'll
Yes,
find out.
yes.
Okay, good. Moving on. So I think there's a real long report coming up next. Center County Boroughs, oh, no, that's wrong. I was thinking of the council, where you at this last weekend, the conference. So this is an announcement, Center County Boroughs Association Fall Meeting, 6 PM Wednesday, October 18th. The guest speaker, I guess has been confirmed, Representative Carrie Benninghoff, and LB Water is the meeting sponsor. So there will be light refreshments provided. If you haven't already, please let Alyssa know that you plan to attend. There's no action required. Joanne, do you have something that you would like to say about this? Because you are the chair of this.
Just show up at 6 o'clock and we'll have the agenda on the table.
Super. Thank you. It's always good food, too. Right. EV charging stations update, the borough submitted. This is just an announcement to bring council up to date. The borough submitted and was approved for the alternate fuel tax permit. Signage is being installed indicating 24-hour enforcement and the hourly fee. Council will begin receiving monthly EV charging reports at the second meeting of the month, which is typically when we get those. No action is required by council. Moving on to new business, Historic Bellefonte Incorporated, HBI Car Cruise Committee, this on October 10th, 2023, donated the amount of $3,000 to the borough, $2,000 of which is for picnic tables and $1,000 for the police department. I believe the picnic tables are ADA accessible,
Yes.
is what I understand from Mr. McCool. We seriously and sincerely thank the Bellefonte Cruise Committee for their contribution, their donation to the borough and those two departments. Anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Stewart?
No, we work closely with the crews each year, and they're very appreciative of that, so we have a good relationship with a lot of the nonprofits in town. This is just one of them, so we're very thankful for what they do. They bring a lot of people into town, which is always welcomed, so we look forward to a strong, healthy relationship going forward.
Great. In that conversation Mr. Stewart and I had with Mr. McCool, it sounds like there's some new additions coming for the next year that are really exciting.
Are you talking about the dunking booths for
The dunking.
That is sort of a side note. They'd like to do something like that
Yeah.
to draw people in,
Yeah.
have a little fun.
Yeah.
But, keep that in mind.
Is that
come
Governor's
next-
Park?
No.
Be downtown during the car cruise.
car cruise.
Oh, okay.
A dunking
I'll
booth
sign you
for
up, Bill.
council members. So,
Or
yeah.
admin.
Not borough staff.
Yeah.
Not borough
I think they said council.
Anyhow, we really do appreciate it. The crews are great to work with. The guys do a fantastic job with borough staff. The cooperation between the two organizations is undeniably very good. Moving on. John Nastas construction application for certificate for payment for Spring Street Scape project. I'm looking for a motion and a second to remit payment to John Nastas Construction for the Spring Street Scape project.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
Brock.
Randy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Barbara. Questions for that motion and second?
Just one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this, I noticed that the change order is to replace what it said was the flexible base system for the concrete paver portions of the sidewalk. My question is, does this change, and I couldn't tell from the description, increase or decrease the amount of impervious surface of that part of the project?
It'll decrease it because now it's going to be solid concrete.
Well,
it's-
it's decreasing the concrete is impervious.
It's going to then increase the imperviousness of that area.
Okay, now that makes sense.
But the reason that we did it is the recommendation of the contractor who's done this many times and stated to us that they get a better product. And as if you see the brick on the other parts of town, how it causes a lot of tripping hazards. That's why we said, yes, let's do it.
Sounds like a plan.
I have a question with the sidewalk that's just been put in. I noticed there's a trough.
That's for bricks.
That's the bricks? I thought so, but I just wanted to be sure.
That's where we had
So-
concrete inlaid rather than having the bricks put in the way we have in the past.
So are there
And that's
going
for
to
more
be
stability.
drainage holes in there to help the water go down? That's my concern, if we're going to go to this concrete. I didn't see any holes in that section that you're talking about. Will they be drilling holes so the water can go down and so it doesn't build up and cause ice jams? And that, I think, would help make the bricks move up.
Yeah, it's in the description that they've written. They will drill 1-inch holes 4 feet apart, and then they'll line it, and then put the sand in.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just wanted to make sure that everyone knows it's for $70,809.07.
Okay.
Is that the additional cost?
No, the additional cost was $4,000.
Okay.
This is just for this particular pay app number one.
So-
I just want to bring up, I saw it happen here, kind of happened to me a little bit, trying to go in where the Spokes building is, that's where they're working at right now. Dump truck came in with I wasn't sure what he was doing, he kind of got in, got turned around a little bit, but he dumped a lot of stone into that area where they're working. The problem is there was nobody on the ground looking around, because I was kind of stuck in the middle of the street, trying to pull in to get my winning ticket that I bought first night. And,
So
even
you're
getting
looking
out of
for
there, he was
somebody to
still
look
there
out
when he
for.
was dumping, and it was just difficult for people.
We'll let Dawn mention that to Mr. Nastas and the crew and say, we've observed you might be a little more cautious in
Yeah.
dumping your stone. Great. Thank you, Randy. We ready for the vote? Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton?
Yes.
Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
Yes.
Great. Moving on to council member comments for the good of the order. I will start, and I'll give you all some time to think about what you might want to say. And I'm going to need Mr. Stewart or Mr. Holden's help on this one. I'm not putting you on the spot. I just heard on the news tonight, and actually I ran into one of the guys working on the railroad car yesterday or the day before at the hardware store. But I hear that this Saturday or Friday at 3:15, Is it this Friday at
I
3:15?
think it's the following Friday. Is
Following
it the last
Friday?
Friday of the month?
Do you recall?
The train celebration,
I don't know the date, so I'm
Yeah.
not going
Yeah,
to
I
say.
believe
Does
it's-
anybody at the table know that?
my
Barb?
recollection is it's the last Friday of this month.
Last Friday of this month,
But-
we
but
think.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
The chamber came in and we had a brief meeting with the chamber. They were putting this celebration together
Mhm.
and we were to get some invitations, but I've not seen anything definite
Okay,
yet.
okay. It's pretty exciting news that the rail car is going to be put back into service. They've done an awful lot of work. I think it's been out of service for 8 or 9 years. And
Yes.
I ran into
Yes.
It's before the
George
water.
Bainey, and he was telling me about it. They did a shakedown cruise on Sunday down in Howard, and they're ready to put it back into service. So,
Yes.
you know, we might be seeing the Santa Express back in service, maybe some fall foliage tours. I don't know, maybe you know
Yeah.
more.
No,
about it.
they'll have the ordinary train that comes in from out of town, like for the fall festival. It has multiple passenger cars.
Uh-huh.
That'll be a different group that comes into town. As you're saying, Doug, this is a diesel-powered, self-propelled car, which is very rare. And it has been out of service for years. Just now got it back from being serviced, and they want to have some kind of a celebration
Mhm.
and then start using it for events.
Yes, yes. Pretty exciting for Bellefonte.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great.
So that's for the good of the order. I'm going to start to my right, if you
Okay.
don't mind, Mr. Stewart.
Well, the fresh in my mind is the Borough's conference that Randy, Barb, and myself, I'm trying to think if anybody, I'm leaving anybody else out. Julie, that's right. But around the table here, and Julie, we went to the Borough's conference, the fall conference. That was basically Friday evening to Sunday, about noontime, 11 or so. Very informative. We talked about some of the issues that many of the boroughs are dealing with, or communities. Short-term rentals was one. The whole computer issues with trying to protect your data. Just a couple issues come to mind. Good information on internal controls, watching your funds and all of that, which we all, we gotta just be careful with our taxpayer dollars. So those are right off the top of my mind, some good sessions that we were in, good speakers all around. And I always say this, the sessions are very good, but the people I meet and people I talk to around the table from other boroughs are equally or more valuable. We talked about a special event that they're doing in Zeeland-Opal, which is out near Pittsburgh. And it was kind of a crazy event, but we're going to do some research, go to their website and read and study how they did it, and maybe borrow some ideas for our nonprofits and events that we do in town here. They were saying like some of their events literally bring in thousands of people, so it's, obviously that they're doing something right if that's happening. But little things like, control of traffic, all kinds of issues that we deal with come up, and we try to look at how to better deal with things. They had two therapy dogs there that were totally paid for through donations, no cost to the taxpayers. That was very interesting to listen to how they developed the program, how they went for donations and all of that. So those are just, again, a few items that I can think of right offhand. But that's
Good.
what I'm sure.
Great. Thank you, Ralph.
Yeah.
Barbara.
I think you read my paper.
I might have.
Like Ralph, I get so much out of these conferences, and again, it's talking to other people, and even talking to fellow council members and our staff in a different place as we're looking at different things. It's a good way to build friendships and some camaraderie with our other council members too. So I always enjoy it. It's the first time I've ever been to Erie. I highly recommend it. I would go when it's a little bit warmer, but it is absolutely beautiful. So
Thanks.
That's all.
Thanks.
Thanks, Barbara. Johanna?
So I have kind of a comment and hopefully suggestion, if I can get this out right.
Was kind of surprised 2 weeks ago when the crews showed up and started cutting into the road in front of my house. I had no idea they were coming to pull off the water line, put in a new water line, and all of that. And it wasn't until I was crossing the road and coming back and crossing the road, oh, by the way, your water's gonna be shut off. Is there a way we can communicate with the residents
Sure.
if their water is going to be shut off?
You bet.
Preferably maybe the day before. Could it be a hang tag, something that you can just fill in the date, possibly a time, anything to give them a heads up, so that I don't start the dishwasher or the washing machine and leave for the day. Anyone who might be working from home, small children, elderly who might have their water shut off, not knowing that's going to happen.
It sounds like an oversight by our supervisor, and those things do happen. Usually he's very thorough in making those announcements, so this might slip through the cracks, that's all.
My guess is what happened is we reached out to the property owner. You mentioned earlier you're the landlord, or you have a landlord.
Right.
Usually we set these things up in advance. I'm not saying there was a drop.
Our
of
landlord
information.
actually didn't know until about 1:30 that afternoon.
Okay.
When they had to go in and replace the water line from the street to the house.
I'll do some checking because normally we do set things up way in advance, contact the property owner, so I'll see what happened there.
But just
Yes.
the communicating with the resident.
Yes.
You bet.
Maybe not necessarily always the property owner, because the property owners don't always relay that information.
Okay.
Sure. We have an authority meeting tomorrow night. I'll make sure it's
I'll make you I'll make you door tags.
Communication specialist.
Thanks, Joanne.
Yep.
Yes.
Anything else?
That's it for now. The other problems we've worked.
Shauna?
Well, I didn't really have much until I heard Ralph mention therapy dogs. So if the borough would like to furnish my practice with a therapy dog, I would be happy to accept.
Maybe. You call us enough and we'll come over. But anyway, it's just, we're gonna do some looking into that. We have an unofficial therapy dog, right, Sean, Chief Weaver? But anyway, it's a lot of good information, so.
Great.
Anything else? Thank you, Sean. Ken? Nothing? Julie, you're part of this.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you would like to?
From the conference, or-
If you do, please come to the podium. I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, I just wanted to say the borough's conference was very good, and I do appreciate the opportunities to go to those, get the same kind of things, really good ideas, really good information. And so I think we all came back with some new ways to look at things, and like I said, some very good ideas. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia. Gina, I don't want to skip over you.
Oh my gosh, no. I am just so happy to be here this evening.
You
can't say that now.
All right. Thanks, Gina. Rita?
I'm just looking at the calendar for the rest of the month. It looks like we've got a lot of fall-related activities coming up in the next 2 weekends, some fall festivals and some walks and runs and races and stuff. So encourage folks to take a look at the calendar and see what's happening.
Very nice.
Okay. Thank you, Rita. No shout-outs tonight?
No,
Oh.
they haven't called me, so.
Oh. Deborah?
Yes, this Friday, October 20th at 6 o'clock, the Bellefonte Library Friends will be holding a Browse and Bites after-hours event that's open to the public. This is an opportunity for people to come in outside of library hours and just explore the library, meet the Bellefonte Library Friends group, ask questions, become a library friend if you would like, learn about possible future projects, and explore the underutilized library sources, and there will be light refreshments. Just come for the finger foods if you'd like. And I do have something else that is strictly coincidental. This wasn't planned, but I would like to remind all of our lovely dog owners in town to please pick up after your dog. I've done a couple of walks around town and it's a mess. So it would be polite if people would just pick up, please.
Good, very good.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Joanne?
So I only have one thing is with the mail-in ballots, everyone who signed up for mail-in ballots should have gotten them by now. They went out last week. If you're dropping them in the drop box, they have to be there before 9 a.m. on November 6th. You can also deliver them directly to the elections office until 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 7th, or put a stamp and put it in the mail. And also be aware that this particular ballot's a very long ballot. The front has all of the candidates you think of from the Supreme Court all the way down to Borough Council and School Board. But when you flip it over to the back, there are 2 more people listed there. Be sure to flip it over. These are retention votes. It's a yes/no vote, and these are for judges for the Superior Court who have been on the bench for 10 years, and they're asking to be retained or serve another 10 years. They're not running against anybody else, but in order to remain on the bench, they need to have a majority of votes for them to continue. So just remember, flip it over, look and make your decision, yes or no on each of them.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And Randy?
PSAB, that's what we're talking about this week anyway, because after 3 days, you kind of get used to it. But the training was good. I wish that some of the speakers would have had a little bit more motivation going with it as well. But they were putting some good ideas out there. And one of the things they talked about, Ralph brought up a little bit, was financing and following money when you get a bill that you have gotten for years, and you just keep paying that bill, and you never check, nobody ever follows it. Kind of brought to mind, like if legal. Sometimes we sat around here and we said we had to go to legal, get their ideas about what's going on, but we never asked, well, what's it going to cost, who's going to do it, and so you never know how much you're actually going to run into when that cost comes, because that's happened in the past. And I think that maybe that's something we could start to look at, is instead of taking it for granted that we're just going to go ahead and go to the lawyer, it should be approved. And if it's something, it doesn't have to be by council, it could be by by Barb, and by Kent, as we had done in the past leadership. So it's something to give thought to, because that is the residents' money, and that is something that we should look and take care of, maybe possibly a little bit better. The other thing is with the training, I believe that's probably on the PSAB website, and I think it's also shared with Bellefonte and other boroughs around the state. So I think it's a good place to go if you want to go take a look at stuff. That's it.
Thank you, Randy.
I have nothing.
Okay. Then I'm entertaining a motion for.
I'll do one thing.
Okay,
Whenever
so-
somebody beats Don to his famous saying, we should have a list for him to go by, so he can at least say something.
I'm glad that other people are taking it up. I took it from Tony Grace.
Okay, we're having too much fun here tonight. Let's go. I'm looking for a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We're adjourned at